Shalom. Good evening from my star in the galaxy. Good morning from Lizzy's star in the galaxy from California. I love that we're connected through the internet and social media and the skies. My name is Dr. Tovah Goldfine. This is TMS Roundtable Recovery in an offline recording with Lizzy, who chose to want to share her story to help others. And I was so thrilled to be the conduit to bring her here and also involved in her healing journey. So I wanted to share, like sometimes I'll do with clients or other, coaches, to really have an open, authentic, honest conversation about exactly what happened. Because Lizzy, you and I know that people need to hear this and they need to see that they don't need to be like you or have your symptoms. They just need to trust the process and believe that their body isn't against them. And so that's kind of what happened. So I'm going to ask you to speak from like really like details. We want the details. When it happened, what was going on, and what's going on with your mind and body now. So thank you for this idea, and I'm really happy to know you. So
Yeah.
begin. Tell us what happened and when.
Um, I could even I even know the date. It was January 28th, 2025. So less than 5 months ago. I have a 140-pound Great Dane, and I wanted to go for a hike. I was lifting him into the back of my car when I felt a tweak in my back. I'm pretty active. I work out all the time. I felt it was pretty severe, and I brushed it off as, okay, I'm going to heal for a week, 2 weeks. I'll take that time off from, exercise, and I'll get back to my normal stuff. And 2 weeks later, I'm laid out on the floor of, my living room with severe back pain. And that started the cycle of figuring out what was wrong. Why was my back hurting? During that time, I was in a moderately stressful time of my life, but nothing crazy out of the ordinary. But I had been running that cycle for so long of, just kind of maybe not putting myself first. I was taking care of myself, but not putting myself first. I wasn't speaking out. And so I'm on the floor. I'm going to chiropractic appointment after chiropractic appointments. I'm buying all the cushions, the pillows, the testing medicines. Um, I am doing all of the things. The pain kept growing and escalating to the point where I had shooting pain down the front of my leg, which, Reddit and Google and doing all the searches led me to thinking it was sciatica down the front of my leg, the femoral nerve. I mean, I remember all the searches that I did. And so I'm taking prescription pills that are making me woozy. I'm doing all the things. It gets to the point where I'm getting insomnia. I'm up at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and I cannot sleep. So this goes on, I want to say a solid 6 weeks. And during the day, I'm not working anymore, and I'm pretty much useless. I want to sleep during the day. I'm not sleeping at night. Um, More money thrown at it, more money. I'm just spending money and money. And my Reddit search, I always trust the people of Reddit, led me to Healing Back Pain book. I downloaded the book almost immediately onto Audible. And within the first 20 minutes, I was like, this is me. This is it.
The book was written for you. It was written right for you. The book
Yeah,
was written by
this was
Dr. John Sarno, right?
yes. I proceeded to listen to the book for the next 3 days, just over, and when it ended, listen to it again, listen to it again, listen to it again. Um, so I knew. So I had searched. So this led. So now
Wait, I'm going to stop. I want to just make
okay,
sure. So
please.
basically, you went to the orthopedist. He didn't find a disc or not. He didn't find a pinched nerve. Like what was like at any point where you're like, this is medical and I'm just not healing correctly.
Oh yeah, of course, because you go to the chiropractor and they're like, "Oh, this is what they say." They say, "Oh, this could take 6 weeks. Like this could take 12 weeks." I did end up getting an MRI that showed, the tiniest disc bulge that, I thought at the time, "Oh, okay, well tiny still means something." And now I'm fully immersed in the Sarno community, and I come across your Facebook page. And I knew
And
I needed help. I knew I needed to explore this route to figure out how could I help? How could I get help? Um, I had a discovery call with you, still very much in pain, still not sleeping. And I actually I had been with I had interviewed a couple of therapists, and you just spoke to me more. You heard me, you saw me, you listened. And so I started working with you. Still very much in pain, very much, needing to do the work. And I started. And I remember, I'll never forget, you said, well, we could do 8 weeks, but you're probably not going to need 8 weeks. And I'm thinking, you're crazy. I'm going to need longer than that. And, spoiler
well,
alert.
look, in the very beginning, you didn't have a whole lot of doubt, which is
Mhm,
such a big boulder
mhm,
to push away for many people. You weren't questioning the body. You were like, you knew there was something emotional going on. We knew there was this conditioned response every night at 1 or 2 o'clock, because I spoke to you a few times in the middle of the night. And there were many nights that I knew you were up. So we knew there's this pattern,
mhm,
and you understood the whole thing. So you were really clear, even though there was still a lot you were doing emotionally, and then reading the dispensa work, which we'll talk about in a minute. But and you weren't really seeing like some change, but you were trusting this process. So continue, because so we started working, you were journaling, you were meditating, and I
mhm,
just want to say you did the work. Like you took the homework and said, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you immediately found what was comfortable for you. It wasn't so much the journaling as much as the meditation spoke to you.
mhm. And that was later. So I started, I read all of the books, not all of the books, but I read a lot that you had recommended.
Right.
And
I had you breathe the pain reprocessing workbook. I had you, write in it, things
yep.
like that.
Yes, and I liked the journaling. It did kind of. It's not actually probably what I stuck with, but I did like the journaling initially, because you have to kind of figure out what works for you. So I was doing the work, and I would say the one thing is I kept, like, I would even tell random people that knew I hurt my back, "Oh, like, how is your back doing?" And I would be like, "Actually, it was never my back," and I would tell them that, because, and it's funny, I had a facial yesterday, and, I told her too, and I was like, "Listen, I know I just wanna be able to share that story with everyone, because it's like, what if someone is experiencing a type of pain that, again, Doc, you had me go through the checklist, what I forget, what do you
I mean,
call it?
the pain was real. The pain was
It was
real.
real.
And you injured your back lifting a monster of a dog when you were stressed. So the pain
Right.
was real. You injured a muscle, you strained a muscle that
Yes.
pinched up the nerve that went down your back, that needed to, for most people in a the pain ends after 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. Here it is 7 weeks, and you're already like, wait a minute, and I'm getting worse. And you're
Yes.
not doing anything. That's where I think, again, it's almost like, and I remember with you, well, this is not so typical. It's not like chronic. It's like this brand new acute. So I was very careful to
Yeah.
make sure. And I had you stretching, and I even had you, remember, get a back brace, and I even had you buy some creams. I was like, let's see what it's going to react to or not.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
wanted to play with, I mean, I'm a body mind doctor. You injured your back. But why was it not on the healing end? And why was it so much at night
Hmm.
keeping you up? What was the pattern? That's what was so fascinating about your situation. So continue.
So, okay, wait, I forget where we were. So I was doing the work. I was working with you. I was probably like week 3 in, and I was seeing like maybe minor tweaks and changes. And I do know why now. I know why. Even though I was telling people, oh, this is my anxiety, this is my, this is my stress, this is that. I was still looking for outside things, and whether it came from me or maybe my loved ones, I was still looking for outside things that would help my symptoms instead of realizing I did not need to spend a single dime. And I had it in me, so I was looking and I was searching, and I know that not until I stopped doing those things and started living my life, the pain went away. And I actually, up until I was still working with you week 7, and I had this like, just change. I was like, listen, and I would call it tension. I didn't call it pain anymore. It was tension. All it was tension. The tension was still there. But I lived my life. I worked out. I went to yoga. I did all the things. And I can tell you right now, as of today, June 17th, I have no more tension. It's gone. I go to yoga and I don't feel tight. I go lift weights and I don't feel tight. Will the tension ever return? Maybe, but I don't care, you know? I don't care. I'll just know, okay, something's going on. I learned so much about my body because even though I had this catastrophic thing where I couldn't sleep for months and weeks, this isn't the first time it's knocked on my door, you know? I've had this in I've had these body sensations kind of all my life. And I do remember these things, like little things that had triggered me. And so I know when it comes up, like I get some throat tightness and I know what it is and I recognize it and I take a step back and I know it is my brain talking to me, and I'm going to do something and I'm going to give it some more love. And I I'm gonna say I'm so happy this happened to me.
Well, and I think, Lizzy, I mean, what do you think about this? I think, I believe the great message of you even speaking and even asking me to come and do this, and to speak to people and to help people. And you're not about to be a coach and start to like put a sign on your door. You just want to reach people and help them and maybe be there on the phone or WhatsApp or on your Facebook page. And that's amazing. And there's a difference between you and the person who's getting throat pain and tightness and tension and falling deeply into the cycle, the pain fear cycle. Now I know you were scared. I spoke to you in the middle of the
Oh,
night.
yeah.
I felt like, wait a minute, why is Lizzy not having a breakthrough? Like, what's going on here? And it always comes down to you, not about like, did we not do something? Did I not give her the right journal? Like, because I think about that. I'm very sensitive to like what each patient needs. And it was really, you had to be ready. And I would like to say what happened, and I do this with some clients. They'll, will sort of exhaust the neuroplastic methods, and they're not really creating any change. And then we'll continue that. But you did delve into the quantum work with
Mhm.
Joe Dispenza. That did help you, and
Yes.
you resonated with that so much. Whether it was you were the placebo, or you broke the habit of being yourself, still being yourself, but you evolved into the Lizzy that can deal with her childhood trauma, can deal with the intensity of your relationship with your husband, even though everything's wonderful. It's an intense relationship. It's a man woman, it's children, you're raising children, and so you were able to sort of have this. I also like the concept of this mental rehearsal where you would start to go to bed and be okay if you had to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Like you begin to accept radically what was going on. And it's just like you said, the minute you began to live your life, and what the difference is between you and some others that might be struggling and might be listening to this is that they're still on the fence. They're
Mm-hmm.
not jumping in. The fear, the anger, the not really understanding and trusting themselves. So talk more about like the courage you had to live with to be with the pain, to have this
Yes.
relationship we called. Because I did the pain reprocessing therapy with you, and it wasn't, you didn't really need it. You didn't need to, like, okay, pain, let's go to the gym together. You weren't scared of it. So how was it that you got so able to be with chronic pain and it's not scare you? Because it's scary.
Well, you had said to me one thing and it stuck with me, and I had to keep reliving it in my mind because all I kept saying was, I can't wait until now I call it tension is gone so I can do this. I can't. And you kept telling me, no, like you may have this for the rest of your life, but when you can live. And so I just started I remember my sister came to visit me and I was like, let's go on a hike. And I mean, I was in pain during the hike, but I felt so good. It's so weird. It's like
Yeah. Isn't it strange?
you can be happy and still have pain.
Yeah.
And then it's teaching your brain, hey, we're happy.
Yeah.
Um, and
Perfect.
obviously I, did the work with you and I read books, but the one I started going really, really deep into learning about the brain. So yeah, I took Rewired is the name
Yeah.
of the show that I watched with
The
Joe,
Joe Dispenza.
and that's just, so that's like 101. He's educating you about the brain, what your brain can do, what's possible. And that's kind of just like his lead up to his meditations. And I'm obsessed. Like I know the
Yeah.
other day I told you I'm like meditating every day. You're like, well, you don't have to do it every day. Like it's still okay. And I'm like, okay. So like 5 days a week, I definitely am like, really invested in healing my brain that way. Um, One other thing, just a little tip that I did that I really, really liked. And this wasn't from Joe Dispenza, but I read somewhere that, like, in order to rewire your brain, which is what I was doing in this process, learn something new. And I saw my son's keyboard that he had in his room, and I'm like, you know what? Let me like learn to play the piano a little bit. I mean, I'm talking very, very basic. I threw on a YouTube and I'm following along. And I was doing that for like 20 minutes a day, just kind of like learning some things. And within that 20 minutes, you're not thinking about anything else. So I used that as a tool to like help me to rewire, think of something new, establish those new connections.
Beautiful.
I mean, you could
Beautiful.
even learn a sport or, a language, something just, 20, 30 minutes a day. And that really, really escalated me to healing as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, amazing, amazing use of the focus, which if we're focused on our pain, I mean, look, luckily you had quieter days, but nights were really hard. Now, how do you be at night and be in pain and not focus on it? Well, it takes a mind that says, I am safe. This is brain pain. This is a pattern. This is a conditioned response. I'm resting my leg. Why should, like, all the evidence?
Mhm.
I'm going to fold into it. I'm going to breathe a little bit. I'm going to just read a book. I'm going to just feel miserable and be
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell, I don't have to feel like it's many of us in this field are like, it's got to be black or white, where you discover the various shades of gray.
Mhm.
And I think those nights became like you weren't scared to go to sleep. You're like, okay, whatever happens, I can handle it. You trusted your body.
Yeah.
And whether you had big T's as a little child or small T's, we did discuss it. It's not important here. Whether the sleep thing related to your husband's sleep issues, which was kind of an interesting thing because he was having sleep apnea at the time, and why it happened to your sleep. I think that's so fascinating how the unconscious wants to protect us. You're
Yes.
trying to help your husband with his sleep, and all of a sudden you're not sleeping. It was so fascinating that you're a sensitive, strong woman,
Mhm.
and how you were able to utilize that, and even admit, like, this is not the first time I've been kind of an anxious, intense person, trying real hard, jumping in, like doing 120%, and my body was like, that's it. So thank you for that situation, which is very much the quantum theory of, like, what was your wake up call? I mean, I
Yes.
always think, why wasn't Joe Dispenza like freaking out at that truck? Like, I'm sure he sued the truck and got thousands of millions of dollars, but why wasn't he angry at that truck driver for destroying, like, who? And I remember even meeting an old friend of mine whose daughter got hit. She was on a skateboard, on the highway, and whatever, a car came, and she sat with the guy who killed her daughter and just said, I can't blame you. My daughter was like, when you think about the elevation of this ability to accept the reality
Mhm.
that you didn't do this on purpose, or and this is part of this trauma work a lot of us have to dive into, is to forgive, forget, or forgive and forget, or not forget but forgive, but to understand that we're not our trauma,
Yeah.
we're not what happened, we're not our pain. And this is what you were clearly able to distinguish. And I want you to talk a little bit about this more for the listeners. How did you not be your pain? How did you be in pain on that hike and observe it and witness it and recognize it and not own it and not get scared? How did you do that? Like,
I
what
mean,
did you?
it took a lot of work. I mean, a lot of times I would, you gotta just catch yourself. Like, you think about it and you're getting yourself down, and I would catch myself and I would bring myself back. And it's just the repetition and the practice and the practice and the practice of saying, like, this is temporary. I had to believe it. And even when I didn't believe it, I had to believe it. So I kept going back to knowing this pain is temporary. This pain is neuroplastic. Talking to my brain, just the repetition of it all, and then getting into the meditations where I could really get into that part of my brain, because talking to my conscious brain really wasn't enough. I had to really get into my subconscious brain to tell it what was going on.
Can
Um,
you share with? I'm going to interrupt you because I don't want to lose this thought. There's a lot of people who buy the Joe Dispenza tapes. They're not expensive. They're $40.
yeah,
I've purchased them. They're not expensive. He's really very fair. His workshops might be expensive, but like, he his thousands of tapes, and a lot of people will buy them and read the book, and they cannot do it. And sometimes they'll get triggered, sometimes they'll get bored, sometimes it's just strange. But we're not here to, how they say, we're not here to be so totally connected to everything we're learning.
yeah.
Otherwise, we're not learning. We're not here to resonate. Oh, I agree with that. It's more like, what can I learn from that? Is this bizarreness of the way he speaks? And he explains in the introduction of the tapes I bought, he explains why he says what he says and does what he does. He
Mhm,
introduces why he talks about the space.
mhm.
And so I don't even particularly like them, but I do them and I fold into them. So we're talking about a letting go. Not like I like that, I don't like that. It's like a letting go and saying, this is helping my unconscious mind. And the research says, when I meditate, it's going to calm my brain down and change my neurocircuits. I mean, Trubiner has it in his books. Hanscom talks about it. Every coach is talking about it. We're talking about breathing, box breathing, the physiological sigh. I mean, there's enough out there that we have the magic inside. And that could be the name of this video. It's like the magic inside that you
Right.
tapped into. We all have. You like unlocked, the cage, flew out, walked the Elebic Road to Oz to realize that you were already home.
Mhm.
Like, share about you know, you were just so comfortable with Joe Dispenza's like meditation,
Well,
and like it could be
no.
any meditation, but
So
you chose that.
the funny thing is, I mean, I had him on my Audible years ago. And I did it, and it was fixing the habit of being yourself, or whatever that one is. I
Breaking the habit of being yourself.
breaking, yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I wanna change, like, let me do this," and it wasn't my time. Now, these meditations for me, I love, because what he tells us is that even if you're in a 25, let's say 25-minute meditation, and that's kinda, I'm in 25, 30, working my way up to the longer. Even if you have 3 minutes where it's great, like, just get to the 3 minutes, right? Because next time it might be more. Like, not every meditation I have is great, but for the one that is, or like, for the 5 minutes of that meditation that's great, that's a success. And we got to build on those successes, just like I did with my healing process. I'm just building on to the successes. I think listening to his whys of what works, because it's just, he it works for so many people. I do not like the meditations in Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I like his meditations from his workshops that I can watch on. I think I'm watching it on Gaia right now. Um, and just, I think I need the background story. I need the why. Why does it work? Why am I wanted to change how I live my life, because what's it all for? I needed to figure out, like, how can I change? There's a reason I was given this pain, and I want to make it worth. I want to share my story, and I want it to change my life too. And it has, it really has. And I'm still doing the work. But I do love the meditations. And I think if you're frustrated with them, that you should just stick with it. Really just find a way to stick with it.
Meditation can be breathing deeply and
Yeah.
being in the sea.
Yeah.
We don't have to listen to something. There's many ways to meditate. We just have a goal of bringing calm to our brain, you know, understanding that there's no threat. So I'm wanting to ask you, just because it's come up a lot in the past couple of months, and maybe there's some insights about your insomnia.
Mhm.
How did you like come to terms with that? I mean, because that's big for people, and what the research has shown us. I spoke to Dr. Handsome about this on one of the broadcasts, because he he brought up a big study that shows it's not the back pain that causes the insomnia. It's the insomnia that perpetuates the back pain.
Yeah.
How
Mhm.
important sleep is, and he gives a whole big program for a sleep routine. And I think a sleep routine is important. Did you change your routine? Did you just lean into it in the night when you woke up? Like, what eventually happened with the sleep? Because people can maybe be helped by some of this insight.
I know what I do now. So I just started. I don't remember the click over. Obviously, it had to have to do something with living my life again. I'm sure of it. But I will tell you a hack that I use now, and even for people that have trouble sleeping or like not feeling rested, there is a hack that I use. So I'll share this little hack. Um, Obviously, when I go to bed, even though I want to play my phone or watch a show, I don't. I put it directly down. So I'll tell you what I did, 2 nights ago. So I put my phone down, it's off, it's away from me, and I just literally go to bed. The hack is in the morning, I wake up and I leave my phone again. I do not connect with anything other than myself and my body, and I go outside in the sunlight for 20 minutes. So it doesn't have to be bright sun. It can be just, just putting not in a room with sunlight. It has to be outdoors in nature, looking at the trees, looking at the world, and that has reset my circadian rhythm beautifully.
Wow,
Yeah.
good to
So it
hear.
yeah, that has changed. I'll grab my water with lemon and I'll sit for 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and sit outside in the sunlight.
really, really important.
Mhm.
And we can go sit, we could just go outside and sit on a step. I
That's it.
mean, I'm not around any trees, but I don't think it's very good. It's a very, very good way to connect to nature, to move from the environment of the bedroom,
Mhm.
and you saw the benefit. So anything you might have done in the middle of the night that you remember really helped you, that might just click for some people,
I would
you
not look
know.
at blue light at all. I had a bad habit of, waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning and being like, "Oh, I'll go watch TV. I'll do this. I'll do that," just to distract myself. And I stopped doing that. I did, I would put on some meditation music. Again, it's hard for me to talk about that because I was still in the throes of not being in acceptance. So I had to accept it. I had to stop, you know, oh, it's hard because I'm going back to remember about all those nights and and that's okay. It made me to where I am right now. But they were really difficult nights. But just I did end up a lot getting up and doing the journaling just to take my mind off of things in the beginning when I had those really bad sleepless nights. Um, and then Oh, yeah, I got there.
Wow, it's really amazing. And I mean, so overall it was about 3 months,
Yeah,
2 3 months.
yeah, wait, so let's see.
January,
4.
no
It was
more.
it was 4. Yeah, it was a solid 4. I remember going on my vacation to Mexico. I'll share this story too. Right before my trip to Mexico, I was still working with you, and I feel we were at like 6 weeks or something. And I still thought, "Oh no, I'm going to have to keep going." And I went on this trip to Mexico, and I just had constant panic the whole time on the way there. And I was telling you, I think I need to be on an antidepressant. And you it's so funny because I know you knew I didn't need it. You knew I didn't need it, but I thought I did. I also and so I did that. Another spoiler alert, that only lasted 2 weeks. I didn't need that. But my husband and a couple other people were like, "Why don't you get this cortisone shot?" And I was like, "Oh man, all right, fine, I'll do this." So I rushed to get this cortisone shot before I left for Mexico. And no, that did it. It didn't. It was not that. It didn't do anything. It was not that. It wasn't even in the right place, like it. So all these placebos that were
And
like
it's not wasn't the dog's fault.
was not the dog's fault. And so I had done all these things, and I went to Mexico, and I was on this antidepressant, and I was in this crazy panic anxiety, and I was like, I shouldn't be taking this. And I decided to just obviously don't do this. But I just decided to stop. And I was like, I'm just going to be in the water, and I'm going to be in the sunlight, and I'm going to meditate. And I stopped. And it was a 5-day trip. 2 of the days were terrible, and the last 3 were good. And I had decided all those placebos I was doing, all these things I was doing. I think that was the turning point. 6 weeks of working with you. So it was like a 4-month journey. And to where I am now. I started going back to yoga, which that is like my heart and soul. I love yoga, and it was so difficult in the beginning. Like I called myself jokingly to the instructor Tin Man, because I mean, even doing the down dog and breathing, my issue, and I'll tell you, I'll tell everyone, even sometimes the pain will move. It'll move around. It's like, "Hey, I'm over here," or "Hey, I'm over here," and just recognizing, "Oh, okay, that you're funny. You're funny. You're gonna move there." So my pain was hanging out in my hip, and even breathing during the down dog, I would feel in my hip, but I would just keep going through, because no matter at the end of the class, I was still had this tension, but I was so happy. So I knew my mind was going to heal my body. Like I just knew it because I felt so good. There was no way my mind could feel so good and I could be so happy and my body wasn't going to follow. I knew it was going to happen.
So amazing. And maybe we could, I had a name for the broadcast because, what it is you developed, and I say this, and people, might not be ready, but you developed this healthy relationship with your pain, and
Mhm.
it went away. And that's what the ladies who wrote the book, who wrote the Pain Processing book, that's what the therapists say, that's what Alan Gordon says. It's really about, and how do we have a relationship with our pain? By knowing ourselves. And that's what you figured out after all these years, I mean, of living your life, having two children, being a mother, a housewife, your full-time job. Like, you've got to know yourself through the pain. And that's, a message for people that the pain is not punishing you ever, 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 ever. It's protecting you. And what about us needs protection? And I think you figured that out, and you'll spend the rest of your life kind of understanding Lizzy.
Yeah.
And
Things are going to come up, things are going to keep coming up for me that I know I now have the tools to deal with, which
yeah.
is which is great. And I just wanted to share my story so bad because I'm not different than anyone listening. I've had people message me a couple times because I had recommended, get someone to talk to. Here's what I did. And they were like, okay, well, what did she tell you? What did she tell you to do? And I'm like, well, everyone's different, I can't tell you like exactly what my process was. Something is going to stick for you, but you really need to talk to someone, I'm comfortable now telling everyone what happened to me. I could shout it from the rooftops because I know there's people struggling and they are like, oh, I have back pain. And I'm like, I really want to tell you, but
Right. And, we're mirrors. All of us coaches are mirrors.
yeah.
And, I always say to my clients, and people know, and all the coaches agree, I mean, like, we want you to be the doctor. We want you to be the therapist. We want you to figure this out in a healthy way. And so we're teaching you the skills, we're practicing with you, and then we're sending you out to be in your life. And so you're not pain free. That's not the goal from anybody from Schubiner to Hanscom to Clark. Pain free is not the goal. Pain free happens, but that can't be the goal. The goal was, what's my body speaking? How can I understand this? How can I live my life with these sensations? And so you really, your journey was really step by step. It might have been like this sometimes, but I am absolutely thrilled to be this messenger and to have you, join hands with me in this broadcast in this little, safe area in my virtual studio. And so as we round up this healing conversation, and if you have anything else to say, we'll put it on the YouTube. Well, by the way, before I give you, I want you to speak one more thing. We will upload this to my YouTube channel, TMS Roundtable Recovery. There'll be a description of your story and your information, so you're available
Yes.
to talk to people on Facebook. People want to message you. They can also find you through me and kind of like have a little conversation with you. I always love when my guests, offer their time and energy, because we're really here for the people, because so many people are suffering and struggling. And so, on that note, what insights might you want to leave some people who might need to hear what you have to say? What would you like to say at the end of this hour?
I just want to say that if you found this community, no matter what stage of the journey that you're in, and all the boxes check off to be neuroplastic pain, you are so close to healing. So just lean into that. If all the boxes check to neuroplastic pain, give into that and you will find your healing journey, whether you have had this neuroplastic pain for years and years or you just found it. Get on top of it, do the work every single day and live your life, and that's it.
Beautiful. And it's hard to give in. It's hard to let go. This
Yeah.
is a human quality we all have. We've all been there and we'll have it our whole life. But the awareness of that I'm holding on, or the awareness that I'm living in fifth gear,
Hmm.
you guys have choices. You can let go. You can be holding on and letting go at the same time. You can be in fifth gear and on first gear at the same time. This is not about black or white. This is about a relationship. So, on that note, I just love what you shared. And so I send you blessings from my heart and home to yours. And I'm so happy. I am one blessed human being. And bless your heart.
Thank you. Thank you
Have a
so much.
great day. Bye,
Okay.
honey.
Bye.
Okay, 1 second.